Topic I wanted to talk about this week is that most men are never taught to how to control their emotions, right? They were taught how to emotionally avoid. I know for me, I was told that just men don't cry, men don't do all of the emotional things. Growing up Midwestern farmer family, it was the women who ran the house. So you kind of stayed out of that business, right? You didn't get involved with that. And then times changed, and then X-Gen comes in, and we're expected to be present there. And we didn't know how to navigate that shit. So we carried a lot of old stuff into the new day, and we weren't taught how to emotionally regulate. We watched our fathers, grandfathers blow up only when they had their long fuse lit, right? Instead of expressing themselves emotionally, they just went into completely closed off spaces with themselves and just went into their work. That's all emotional avoidance. And we were taught it from a start, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy for past generations. It's not healthy into today, especially not healthy for the modern world, right? Where relationships are incredibly complicated. You no longer have people just influenced by their local friend group because they're living in a village somewhere. You have people that are influenced by folks, 12,000 miles away on the other side of the world. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way of our world. So sometimes for most guys, silence feels a lot better than being vulnerable. Being vulnerable exposes you to being ridiculed, being made fun of. But vulnerability doesn't have to necessarily mean crying. It can mean any number of things. It could mean, being true to yourself, being able to tell somebody, hey, man, I didn't like what you did. Or telling your partner, hey, when you did that, that wasn't something that was cool. I was talking to somebody about it yesterday, and you kind of see it in conflict with a lot of couples. And there's a lot of complaints about it, right? Where she'll bring up an issue, and he's been trying to just keep the peace forever. And she'll bring up an issue, and he'll then start piling on his issues because he's been trying to keep the peace. And he just doesn't want conflict. And then when conflict arises, that gate is wide open. It's not healthy. I'm not saying it's right. It's just how it occurs. People note that and go, well, this is bullshit. I got an issue with him. And now all of a sudden he's coming at me with a bunch of, 1,500 things that I did wrong because he was trying to keep the peace, because he doesn't know how to emotionally regulate himself, which doesn't allow you to be able to have a calm presence around him. So I blame men for this, solidly and completely. Call it whatever you want. I blame men. We have to be able to bring up issues even when the times are quiet. Keeping the peace isn't the way to go. So I'll get to more to that in a second, but that's just an example of something that happens, and it's not healthy. It's not good. It's not good for either partner because she thinks she's being attacked. She thinks it's just a counterpoint, and that's all it ends up becoming. It becomes a debate of who fucked up more. Right? It's not okay. Either way, it's not okay. Bring up your issues in advance. Bring it up when you have the issue. You don't have to cause conflict. Just bring it up calmly. Like, hey, when you did that thing, I didn't like it or whatever. And this goes for friends. This goes for partners. This goes for everybody. Making yourself small and then blowing up when you have an opportunity, it isn't emotional regulation. It's not helpful for anybody, right? Excuse me. So another thing that kind of ties in, and I talked about in a brief video I did on TikTok earlier this week that I uploaded, is Stoicism. Stoicism in its standard form from 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, meant something completely different than what is being taken today. You have a breakup, and your algorithm starts to mirror your emotion. Right? Algorithms do that. You'll linger a little too long on a little self-help stuff, working out. Stoicism comes in there, a lot of fuck that bitch kind of energy comes out, at least initially, and you start to get into that cycle. Stoicism is one of the things that guys will lean on, and it's a fake version of Stoicism. I say Stoicism in the modern interpretive term, in the internet term, where it's given to you in a snippet. It's given to you in a 15-second video, in a 1-minute video. Stoicism is not the answer. Going completely cold and being emotionally detached from everything is not it. Again, they tried to do that in, I mean, Band of Brothers is a perfect example of that. If you watch that from somebody who has had PTSD's vision, and they do the video of the older gentlemen who are the actual people who were there during the war, World War II, you can see undiagnosed, untreated PTSD. That's men keeping quiet. That's men silently dying. They were a great generation, they were a great group of men, but they didn't know how to emotionally process either because they were never taught. I'm not saying it's a bad thing for them, but moving into the modern age, there's no reason for us to have to suffer through this. We can choose just as much as people can take their influence from a billion different places. They don't have to just be friends with people that are their next door neighbors. They don't have to be friends with the people that are just in their village. They can be friends with anybody all over the place. You don't have to put up with people's bullshit. You have a friend that's been your friend since grade school. That doesn't mean if they're not good for you that you've got to stick with them, just making yourself smaller and smaller. You don't have to do it. You don't have to. So, but again, back to Stoicism, the idea that you just go cold and that's going to fix all your problems ain't it. You got to find a way to find a healthy approach to talking about your problems. You got to find a way to be able to discuss it in a way. You also have to be able to find a way to not shrink in spaces where you should be making yourself big. Relationships specifically. Your partner is doing her own thing and got her own stuff going on. And guys will come back to me and they'll talk to me, or I'll hear something about another guy who is, his wife is having a hard time. So he just kind of takes care of everything and lets her storm around and be crazy. Okay, well, there's that. And then there's walking back in and going, hey, I get it. You're dysregulated right now. I'm going to be available a little later when you calm down to talk about this, because this is not okay. I'm not saying jump in there right now, today, tomorrow, with a partner that's dysregulated constantly and rapidly shift the dynamic of the relationship. That's not it. It's more along the lines of, you've got to find a way to find center. It's about you. It's about you and your problems. Don't make it about her. Make it about you. What you can control. What you can control is your emotional response to her stuff. Okay? You don't have to lose yourself. If she's having a bad day and you had something planned for that day, go do the thing. Go do the thing. She's going to feel ignored, but she needs to sort through her stuff too, just like you need to sort through your stuff, okay? Not saying abandon your partner, absolutely not saying it. Everything is, I can't cover every single scenario, but for the most part, just go do your thing. Go take care of yourself. Go do what you need to do to grow, and she will either meet you or she will fall away, unfortunately. I'm finding 9 times out of 10 that my partners will meet me, at least to a degree, where I'm at. Your experience may vary, okay? So being smaller to keep the peace isn't the way, like I said. So trying to make yourself smaller just to kind of let things go and let things slide for a very long time ain't it, okay? The attraction will fade. If you don't bring up issues, if you don't navigate things by advocating for yourself, she's not going to. Nobody else is going to. Your friends aren't going to advocate for you. They might a little bit, like, hey, he's got this problem because he's got this issue. But for the most part, if they don't know about an issue that you're having at the moment, they're not going to be able to help you at all, okay? You're actually giving everyone around you the ability to meet you where you are. This is not about emotional dumping, though, okay? You've got to check in with yourself and make sure that what you're doing isn't completely emotionally dumping. So there's a balance. So you got to check in. Is this something I got to deal with myself? Okay. All right. I need to go and talk to this person about this. Really chew on it. Like, hey, you got this issue. Is this a reasonable ask for me to throw this at this person? Right. So stillness isn't presence. That's another point, is that just because you're calm doesn't mean you're present. Okay. You have, again, I keep reaching back to this. You've got to advocate for yourself, And you've got to have reasonable asks. If somebody came to you and asked you something, it's going to feel like crap. Okay. The first couple of times you do it, where you're like, hey, I got this problem and I'd like to talk about it. just a couple minutes. Do you have space to be able to talk about it? And then you go, hey, you did this thing that I didn't like. Okay. And then you move on. If they take it a certain kind of way, that's now on them to figure out their stuff. It's not on you to figure out their stuff, okay? This is not a fire and forget, okay? You do have to take ownership of your piece. You've got to show up different. If you're expecting them to be a certain way, you have to also have the honesty to show up the same way you're asking them to, okay? Last piece I'll get into is you don't serve yourself by becoming quiet. You don't serve yourself, okay? You got to be big. Got to be big. You got to let your fire glow so that people can see it, okay? Advocate for yourself. Do it to become clear about what's going on, okay? If somebody steps on your toe, you say, hey, I don't like when you step on my toes. If they continue doing it, this is now a them problem. And you can make decisions from there, right? So advocate for yourself. Think this through. Go slow. Be patient with yourself. And just have some balance. You don't have to data dump. You don't have to just verbally diarrhea on people. But, you're not going to give them 6 months of trauma. Bring up the next thing that comes up and start there. And it might open a gateway. Could close off the relationship. You have got to be prepared for that, because at the end of the day, you have to be whole. You live with yourself the entire book. The entire book, start to finish of your life, you live with yourself. These people are here for a page, a paragraph, a chapter, the entire rest of your journey, whatever the case may be, but you at the end of the day have to live with yourself from start to finish. And this is where you start, is by finding out a way to discuss with people things that are going on and things you're having a problem with. Good luck.